Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wise Take MMA DFS podcast. I am your host, it's El Stevo. You can always find me on Twitter at L_Steve_O. And I am joined by my man, WigSpitter. You find him on Twitter at Jeff Poe. Say what up, Wig.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on this evening, this fine Valentine's Day? Thank you to all of you guys who decided to join us on this little late night Wise Take MMA podcast. We're going to be talking about this week about UFC Fight Night, Cerrone versus Medeiros on, I believe it's on UFC Fight Night. I believe it's on Fox Sports 1 this week. And we've got another free card to watch. We got some good fights coming up. Anything you're excited about this week, Wig?
Yeah, man, I can't wait for the James Vick fight. The Sanchez versus Sanchez fight. It's the battle of the Sanchez.
I think Sanchez is going to win that one.
I'm guessing one of the Sanchez is going to come out on top. And then the Brandon Davis Peterson fight is actually pretty intriguing to me, just because I want to see how Davis rebounds back from his loss from Kyle Bochniak, especially coming off the Dana White Contender Series. He looked pretty impressive, and then all of a sudden he just sort of dudded against Bochniak. So,
all right, not too shabby. Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. I'm actually kind of curious to see where our picks are, or what we're going to argue about this week. Starting up the fights this week is looks like a middleweight fight: Oscar Piechota versus Tim Williams. From what I've seen, right now Oscar Piechota is what? I think he's undefeated. Yeah, and then he's 1-0 in the UFC. And then Tim Williams, this is going to be his UFC debut.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can you tell me about these guys?
Yeah, Piechota, he's a very technical striker. He has solid grappling. Uses his kicks to fight at distance. He has various attacks when just to gauge his opponent. Tim Williams is a two-time tough competitor. He's fought on the TV show a couple times. He's currently on a 5-fight win streak outside of the UFC. He has decent takedown defense, and he's a grinding type style fighter. Pichota's salary is $9,100. He's one of the top guys on DraftKings. He's a -260 favorite. Okay. Williams' salary is $7,100, and he's a +200 underdog. I think this is going to be where both these guys, their grappling sort of negates each other, and it turns into a stand-up battle, where I think Piechota probably will have the advantage. Not that I'm discounting Williams. I think don't quote me on this, but I think Williams is from Texas, so it's sort of like a home state fight for him.
Okay.
There's actually multiple fighters with that same type of thing. But yeah, I think Piechota is worth rostering in a cash or GPP setting. Williams, I'm not sure if I could take a flyer on him at in a GPP, but I mean, you never know. I mean, you have to. I'm gonna watch a little bit more fight film on him, but there has been. I mean, he's been on a pretty good roll as of late.
Okay, not too shabby. All right, so Piechota looks like the man to be picking. Hopefully, we'll get into more of that, I'm sure, this weekend. On Saturday morning, Saturday midday, usually, at least on the East Coast, we'll be going into it for all the MMA package subscribers, and then we'll go over why we're picking them this way, and what makes us think that we're gonna go and roster some of these guys or not roster them. A lot of this stuff that tends to change after you watch enough fight video.
Right.
Oh, man. All right, going on to the next one. This one's actually kind of funny. And by the way, guys, let us know what you think about the new layout. I'm actually very excited about it. I think this way we get to show you what the fighters look like and give you exactly some of the same stats that we tend to look at and memorize. Let us know what you think. Going up on the, I guess, finalizing the Fight Pass early prelims, it's Josh Berkman versus Alex Morono. Josh Berkman is a funny guy. I don't know, man. It's like he goes and he fights outside the UFC for a little bit, looks like a stud, and then comes back into the UFC just to consistently like be up and down. But this time, I mean, he doesn't really improve much. I mean, right now he's 1-7 in his last 8 fights, and I'm just like, I don't know. For me personally, rostering him seems a little sketchy. And then we've got Alex Morono coming off of a loss, but he's 2-1 in the UFC comparatively to Josh Berkman. I mean, they seem to line up pretty well. There's no real distinct reach advantages or anything. I know Joshua Berkman's jiu-jitsu is pretty solid, but I think in the last couple of fights, I think he's been TKO'd, so his jiu-jitsu hasn't been able to help him much because he just hasn't been able to work the stand-up. What do you think about this one? Do you think Berkman is worth rostering at all, price wise or otherwise? Who takes it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing is, you can't really count out these veterans. I mean, but at the same time, Morono, he technically it all. I mean, he lost to Nico Price. It
Yeah.
was technically no. It was overturned to a no contest because Nico popped for marijuana. So
Okay.
that was turned to a no contest. But he did lose a split decision to KT Nakamura. I mean, he's fought some decent guys like Kyle Noak, who he beat by decision. Who else did he have a win against? I mean, that's pretty much the notable names.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, before that no contest, I mean, he was on a 7-fight win streak up until that point, and then he just sort of stumbled up against Nico Price, who is I mean, he is a handful when it comes to fighting somebody. Berkman, on the other hand, I mean, this dude is sort of frustrating because I mean, he's talented. It's just I'm not sure if it's just he's not in the game anymore. I mean, at his last fight against Drew Dover, he was talking about. I mean, after the Prazeres loss, which he lost by submission in the first round by a north-south choke. He pretty much. I mean, he was not only hinting, he was like openly talking about retirement. I mean,
Uh,
he was just literally like, I'm gonna retire. And then he came out and then he fought Dober and then got knocked the F out, which was ridiculous. And then his only win in his last 7 fights was against KJ Noons, who had one foot out the door, who retired after that fight. So I mean, in reality, like I mean, he's fought against some top level competition like Hector Lombard, Dong Young Kim, Patrick Cote, Paul Felder, Prazeres, Dober, and he's lost against all these guys. But at the same time, like, I mean, is he like really in it to fight anymore, or is he like ready to leave?
yeah, I mean, but some people don't
So
know when to quit. I don't know. That's my thing. I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. I've seen spurts of greatness out of him. You know what I mean? When he comes
mhm,
back every time, I mean, he's usually on a tear. But this is his
yeah,
third or fourth stint in the UFC. He just
yeah,
can't put string some wins together. So I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, this is a tough one to call. I feel. I
Like
don't know how.
outside the UFC, I agree with you. He's very um he actually wins outside the UFC, but when he comes onto the inside the cage, for some odd reason in the octagon, he just can't perform. Grant you, it's against the top level competition. So, and Morono, um, this kid is, he's fought some pretty decent guys. He's he has a loss in his last fight, and he did get pretty much handled by Nico Price in the fight before that. But I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, Berkman's salary is 7,400 on DraftKings, which is definitely worth like a look. And then Morono salary is 8,800. And if you look at their like how this fight could possibly go, it's either going to go like to decision, or there could be possibly a submission. Um, or I mean, if Berkman's knockout button has been pushed, then it's possible that you know that could be an outcome as well. But I
Yeah.
don't see I don't see this being like a very exciting fight. I think from a DFS standpoint, um, if it does go to decision, it could be something where both these fighters don't necessarily score all too hot. So I'm not sure if I want to roster either one of them, but I mean, for salary relief, and if you feel that Morono is going to be, not up to the task of taking on a guy like Berkman, I mean, Berkman's rosterable. I mean, but I mean, it's extremely risky.
Yeah.
I mean, because you don't know where his head is in the game or whatever. So
Yeah, I'm torn on this one.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
first look. I mean, this is first look. I mean, there's still a lot of fight film to watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll have to really see if we can break down maybe by this weekend. I guess the skill set, because I mean, look, heck, I was wrong about Machida. You know what I mean? So you never know if you could end up getting a low rosterable Josh Berkman that decided to come fight that day, or able to show some tricks and then get a clean win. Because I mean. If history's shown us,
if he could keep the fight at distance and not get tagged up too much, it's a possibility he could.
Yeah, that's
and especially if excuse me, and if Morono is to take him down, I think Berkman's jiu-jitsu could come into play. Morono's ground game is fairly decent as well, so I mean it could be a grinding out battle. It could be one of those kind of fights.
Yeah, that one we're still on the fence about. More to come this weekend. So going right along, we're gonna go to the women, the one women's fight on this card. Number 13, Sarah Morris versus Lucy Pudilova, in the bantamweight division for the women. What did I see? What was the last thing I saw? I remember that Morris, like I said, I just recently won. Yep. I think she's been like 1-1-1, win one, lose one, win one in the UFC the last little while.
She won her debut against Alexis Dufresne.
Yeah,
she lost. She got battered by Jessica Andrade.
Yes,
lost the decision, and then she came back pretty dominant against Ashley Evans-Smith with a first round armbar submission.
Exactly. So, and Pudilova's coming off a win against Hee-yeon Kim. So they're both coming off of wins. It should be an interesting fight. There's no real advantages in the same. I mean, you could see that they both have almost an identical, at least stat wise, an identical skill set. So for this one, I mean, I'd have to again go to the tape, I guess. But what do you think? Do you think this stays standing, or do you think that these guys have enough of a ground game?
I think both these ladies. I think it could turn into a grappling battle. Honestly, it's funny because Pudilova's nickname is also the Bullet, but she doesn't strike like the Bullet.
No, definitely not.
And Sarah Moraz is the Cheesecake. So I giggle every time I hear that.
Yeah, I couldn't get myself to read it for a minute at the screen. I was like. Cheesecake,
I was trying
really?
to, then I started laughing. I was like, I got to do it because I'm going to laugh anyways. And then people are going to think, why is he laughing? Yeah, Cheesecake, man. I'm serious. But she had a pretty impressive submission victory against Ashley Evans-Smith. I mean, both these guys, like I said, they're both solid grapplers. They both have average to above average striking. Both of them have suspect takedown defense, so it's a good possibility that they both grind each other. And Moraz's salary is $7,700 plus 125 underdog. Pudilova's salary is $8,500. She's minus 155 favorite. According to Vegas, is pretty much a pick'em. I don't think they're busy enough on the feet to where they're going to have a solid, significant strike output. So that doesn't excite me too much from a DFS standpoint. What does excite me is the possibility of takedowns, passes, and possible submissions. So Moraz has shown, submission ability inside the UFC. Pudilova at the same time is same thing. She's had submission victories. She's had an armbar. She had an armbar and a guillotine choke. One in Clash FC and the other one in Amatra, Karelia Fight 12 against Evelia Siskonen. So it's a possibility that they could just grind each other up. But I mean, I think both of their grappling skills is probably going to negate themselves, and they'll probably have like a back and forth, you know, striking battle where it's not going to necessarily be too active. But Sarah Moraz does have she has a sneaky clinch game. So if she gets her in the clinch, she's going to have some dirty boxing, some heavy knees, you know, into the stomach, maybe grind her up against the cage. So if it does go to decision, I think Moraz could come out with a victory. But at the same time, Pudilova I think she has a little bit of her body stature is a little bit bigger than Moraz. So she might be able to shuck her off, or you know, use a wizard to get out and try to get it back up to the feet and probably keep it standing. So it's one of those things where it's, you know, it's depending on how they come in with their fight plan, and see how that works out. So it's all in the game plan. It's all one of those things. But from a DFS standpoint, if I was willing to take a flyer on somebody for salary relief, I think Moraz would probably be worth a shot, because I could see it possibly going to decision. She seems pretty fairly durable, and if she is able to land a couple takedowns, maybe, you know, get a couple passes in there as well, maybe some ground and pound, she might be able to pay off her salary. So
okay. All right, yeah, solid. A lot of these so far, the first few are all pick'ems, but for different reasons. It's kind of funny to see, like I said. Luckily, I mean, this card actually builds up to some really exciting matchups. And now next up is the Battle of the Sanchezes. We've got Roberto Sanchez versus Joby Sanchez. Roberto is actually 0-1 in the UFC. He lost to Joseph Morales, I think, by rear naked choke. He was undefeated before that. So, I mean, pretty much he had a 7-fight win streak that was snapped by an inadvertent rear naked choke on him. And then we got Joby Sanchez. He actually won the last 2 fights that we saw on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He was in the UFC previously, though. He went 1-2, so he had a short stretch. So he's got a little bit more experience than Roberto. It looks like Roberto Sanchez is more, I mean, stat-wise, his ground game is far superior. Most of his his fights end in submission, yeah, whereas Joby's a little bit more well-rounded. I'm sorry?
86% of his wins are submission.
Yeah, see, that's insane. That's pretty high. So I would imagine just probably like one of his fights he ended by decision or something like that. I'll have to do a little more research.
Exactly. This one should be in flyweight. Exactly what it was.
What?
Well, that's exactly what it was.
Oh, see?
One was decision.
Dude, I am so sorry. I am exhausted today, so I am. We usually do these early, so I'm like I'm waking up as we speak. Long day of work, but and researching at that. But so far, yeah. I mean, whose ground game? I guess I haven't seen enough of Joby Sanchez. Do you think that he's going to be able to stop us? A grapple? Is he enough of a grappler to stop Roberto Sanchez from doing what he wants?
This is the only thing that scares me. This is what scares me. And Joby Sanchez is a Jackson Wink fighter.
Oh, I did read that. That's right. He is a Jackson Wink fighter, and I meant to ask you about that actually off camera, because I was
what happens? What has happened to the last 23 Jackson Wink fighters?
What,
They've lost.
That many have lost in a row?
I think they're like 23-0 or 0-23 right now.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
It's some crazy. It's over 20. It's over 20.
That's insane. But here's the thing. It's like the problem I feel with Jackson Winklejohn, not to segue too hard, is the fact that they don't really train these fighters, I feel, to their strengths. They train them to a game plan. And then they make them follow a blueprint. Problem is, they've also got fighters that don't like to follow the blueprint. Because Jackson Wink is pretty successful. But right now, being 20 fights in a row or whatever it is, I mean, there's something off there. People have been able to figure them out because they teach these guys such, great consistency. But then the problem is that they don't let them deviate, or it feels at least like they don't really invest in them in the sense of they don't play to their strengths. They don't let them go out there and kind of do what they're best at, and then give them a game plan to work around it. It seems that they almost have like a cookie cutter scenario for most of their fighters, which is safe. They'll outpoint most people, but it doesn't account for random freak accidents and knockouts and stuff like that. At least that's what I've seen so far.
And that's I wanted to throw that out there just because it's one of those things you have to. It's a disclaimer.
Yeah.
You have to throw the disclaimer out there. Do not use the hairdryer in the shower. You're going to get electrocuted. So, getting back to what we're talking about. So, Joby Sanchez, he's going to have the advantage on the feet. He's going to have a decent opportunity to stuff Roberto Sanchez's takedowns. He's going to have an opportunity to control where this fight goes. Now, Roberto Sanchez's game plan is he's going to want to take him down. He's going to want to grapple with him. He's going to want to tire him out, and he's going to want to submit him. I don't think he's going to want to get hit. I can't remember who it was back in the early UFC days. He said, I think it was it Reggie Smith, where he said, you punch a black belt in the face, now he's a brown belt. And if you punch a brown belt in the face, now he's a purple belt. And he's just went all the way down the line. So the more you hit him in the face, he turns into a white belt, and then he's going to tap. Something crazy like that. But
that's pretty funny, actually.
I want to find the exact quote, then I'll have it better. But I like Joby Sanchez's opportunity to win this fight, and his salary on DraftKings is 8,200. He's a minus 140 favorite. Roberto Sanchez's salary is 8,000. He's a plus 110 underdog. So according to Vegas, it's basically a pick 'em. I feel the same way, and it's one of those things where, do you want to take that chance and roster Joby as opposed to Roberto? One of the things you're going to have to sort of consider. I think it's such a close fight that it's almost where you have to really pick who you're going to want to win, or you're going to have to hedge your lineup and have one of each, one of Roberto and one of Joby. I mean, the salaries are fairly close enough to where you could probably fit what you want in there. Joby Sanchez actually has fought some pretty high level competition. He fought Wilson Hayes back at UFC Fight Night 49. Outside the UFC, he's fought guys like Martin Sandoval, Jesus Urbina, stuff like that. I mean, it's not necessarily like top level competition. And then Roberto Sanchez, the same thing. He's in the same boat. Outside, I mean, in LFA, he fought Cerrone Rivera, David Acosta at LFC. So I mean, not like these guys are super great talent, but I mean they're not schleps.
Yeah,
completely. But yeah, it's sort of one of those things where it's sort of like too close to pick, especially when it comes to a roster. I mean, you might be able to find a better opportunity in another spot where you have a clear path to victory for somebody.
Okay. So would you say that over of the two, you think now either one of these guys is at all viable, just simply because of the fact that at 125 pounds, I mean, the output from both these guys could be pretty high, I would imagine. So would picking one fill your roster out, or you rather?
If you look at Roberto Sanchez's striking statistics, it's putrid. It's almost non-existent. I think it's almost one significant strike per minute. Joby's is close to 3.5 or something like that.
Yeah, 3.2.
So 3 over 3. I mean, he's more active on the feet, and that's why I think Roberto doesn't want to get hit. He's going to want to turn it into a grappling match where he definitely has the advantage. So it's one of those things where I'm not sure if I couldn't unless I could see Roberto getting in there and slapping something on Joby early. That's the only way he's going to pay off his salary at 8,000. He's going to have to get a first or second round submission in order to get what you need for a GPP. For a cash lineup, it's a little risky because it is such a close fight.
Cool. All right. So moving forward towards another one of the prelims matchups. This one's gonna be Jeff Neal versus Brian Camozzi. Now, do you know if this guy Brian Camozzi is related to Chris Camozzi, or are they completely unrelated? Just a random thought. You're like cracking up, and I'm like, just curious. I thought it was just, maybe it's like they're brothers or something.
Say that again.
Anyways, about the last one, at least we know for a fact a Sanchez will win. When it comes to this one at welterweight, again, we got a roughly similar matchup. Again, we got a lot of pickups here. I mean, except for the fact that Jeff Neal has insanely high output.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, this guy lands almost 7 strikes a minute. That's higher than I've seen since I've started being on this show, and I'm just like, wow. And the accuracy on top of that is at 60%, which is scary because that means, that means 3 of those 7 really significant strikes are landing clean at some spots. So, I mean, they don't have a picture up, I guess, for Jeff Neal just yet, but I mean, Camozzi so far is 0-2 in the UFC. Both of them coming off of TKOs. Yeah. And then this guy Neal is coming from another guy that's coming directly from Dana White's Contender Series. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at least momentum is in Neal's favor at the very least. And then Camozzi is I don't know. I'm surprised he's actually still fighting for them. So this is his desperation fight.
Yeah, it's another one of those. I wouldn't put him at too far into the category of a Josh Berkman, but I mean he's getting there. I mean he needs about 20 more fights to be in that same category. I mean I don't want to push that guy in there, but Neal, he looked fairly impressive. I mean he had a first round stoppage against Chase Walden on Dana White's Contender Series. Before that he had a first round stoppage by punches against Bilal Williams, and then he had a extreme knockout. 34. He lost against Kevin Holland in the 3rd round by punches. It looked like he almost gassed. I mean, actually, it did look like he gassed and just sort of had to give in. But before that, he rattled off 4 wins, and then he had a loss by a submission to Martin Sano. But that was 4 years ago. So
exactly.
But yeah, I mean. He has looked impressive, and Camozzi, on the other hand, he's one of those guys where he has a sneaky submission game. He has decent to above average power. Chad Laprise is no slouch, man. He lost against that guy by punches and elbows in the 3rd round. I mean, he's a bigger guy for the weight class. Randy Brown is pretty solid. He lost by TKO in that fight, and then before that, outside the UFC, he had 5 straight wins coming into the UFC. So it'll be interesting to see how he competes against Jeff Neal. So it's basically like they're both almost even experience-wise. So it's almost like, okay, who's going to win?
Yeah, this is definitely
almost a pick 'em. It's like fairly a pick 'em, but according to Vegas, Neal is and DraftKings, Neal's salary is $8,900. So they're going off of the fact that he's not necessarily heavily favored, but he's a -215 favorite. Camozzi's salary, not Carmozzi, I'm sorry, that's a totally different dude. Camozzi's salary is $7,300. He's a +170 underdog. It'll be interesting to see. Guys making their debut, how they step up onto the canvas, into the cage. It's one of those things where either they shine or they wilt. And hopefully Jeff Neal can prove, that he belongs in the big show and just steps in and just, pays off his salary. Camozzi has been TKO'd before, but it's taken either, he's durable enough to last the 2nd or 3rd round. It's not like it's a 1st round stoppage. He has 2 other losses that have gone the distance, gone to decision. So he seems fairly durable. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if Jeff Neal's power can stop a guy like Camozzi. and Neil's gonna have to avoid the submission attempt. So we'll have to see how well Neil's takedown defense is. But for a DFS standpoint, um, I'd be willing to take a flyer on Neil, and at the same time, I'd be willing to take a flyer on Kamosi just because of, for one, it's one of those dog or pass type things. And I think Kamosi does have a little bit of fight in him. And if Neil isn't ready for the bright lights of the big stage, and he comes in and sort of wilts, Kamosi could slap on something and tap him out.
Yeah, that's about what I said. I mean, like I said, one of them is possibly on their way out, the other one's on the way in. So they're essentially equals, just like you said. Literally, they are one fight removed of equal fight records.
Yeah,
Like that's about it. So I mean, it could go either way. I mean, this could end up being a nice stand-up battle or a showcase for Neil if those hands are as good as the stats indicate. So that should be fun to watch.
yeah.
All right, going right along to the Fox Sports 1 prelims finale. We've got Jared Gordon versus Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira, funny enough, I mean, he's 3-2 in the UFC. He just beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier, I think is his name, but he hasn't fought since the beginning of 2016. So he's quite literally having a 2-year layover. Pretty much just waiting. I don't know if he's waiting for a fight or had injuries or opened up a jiu-jitsu school. Who can say? I don't know what that.
He got popped.
Oh, well, there
His
you go.
pee was so hot it melted the bottle.
Well, there you go. So you know how I feel about them already. I can go rant about that all day. So you already know.
Hot pee.
Yeah, you know already how I feel about that. So I'm already against him in that sense, But on a personal level, what's it called? Gordon is 2-0. He's coming off a win against Hakron Diaz. So I mean, me personally, my pick is already Jared Gordon. I mean, obviously his TKO KO rate is 30% higher than Ferreira's. Ferreira's obviously likes to go either submit them or grind them out to a decision of some kind. But Ferreira's reach is going to be insane.
Right.
Comparatively, that's a 6-inch reach advantage. But apparently, Gordon is a striker. I mean, he also this week is funny because there's a few strikers on here who have insane output. This guy's it's almost 7 strikes a minute with 50% accuracy. So every other punch is landing, and his defense is pretty good. His takedown accuracy is middling, and he hasn't been taken down so far in the UFC. So.
Right. Fairly good takedown defense. Side note about Jared Gordon, he's I give this man some props. He's actually battling personal conflict. He had addiction in his life, and he's actually day by day fighting through it. I give my hats off to him, mad respect. I follow him on Twitter. He seems like every day he's making the right steps to straighten his life out, and it's showing in the cage because if you include his last 3 fights outside of the UFC, he's 5-0. In his last 7 fights, he's 6-1. So that's fairly impressive. He's had a couple first-round knockouts outside the UFC. He had a second-round stoppage against Michael Quinones. He went to decision with Hakron Diaz, who's no slouch. That dude's pretty good. So, I mean, pretty cool. I mean, his salary is one of the highest this week. 9,300. He's a -270 favorite according to Vegas. Diego Ferreira, 6,900. He's one of the lowest, and he's a +210 underdog. Now, we've seen a couple guys coming off these USADA bonds, and
they look terrible. They look awful.
I just made it sound like the Autobahn.
Yeah.
You saw the ban. But for sure, man. They look, I mean, ring rust. I mean, you hear Dominic Cruz say, well, ring rust is all in the head. But honestly, a lot of these guys coming off these 2-year bans look horrible. I mean, they look like they need to find their way back in the cage, and they probably should have stepped in on the big show. They probably should have had like a warm-up fight. Yeah. And but I remember Diego Ferreira when he fought when he fought OAM, he looked fairly impressive. I mean, it was a decision victory, and that guy Olivier Aubin Mercier was fairly solid. He did lose by punches to Dustin Poirier, and he had lost a decision to Beneil Dariush. And but those guys, I mean, different level, and that was years ago. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, honestly, he definitely could be worth a flyer in a GPP, but very extremely risky.
Yeah. We don't know how he's going to react from that ban. And man, every time we've seen somebody come back from a ban and go right back into, like you said, right back into the big show, they have been just, my God, like they have been atrocious. Like I feel bad for them. And not to mention, that's kind of almost dangerous because you got guys in here that don't care about your USADA ban, and they're not going to respect you. So they're going for blood because they want that win, that highlight knockout, and it shows. So, I mean, I personally don't like it. I don't feel, like I said, I agree with you 100%. They should have a tune-up fight outside the promotion. Make sure they pee clean, and then get a fight back in the UFC or something. Because, I mean, man, a two-year layoff. Like I said, the only person I know that can pull that off and still look good doing it is Dominic Cruz. Yeah. That guy's a rare talent.
The decisionator. I put him in the same category.
Don't you mock Dominic Cruz? He's one of my favorites.
Man. I have mad respect for Dominator, man. I'm messing. That dude, I swear to God, man, he looks like Willie Pep in there. He literally will pick him, pop, and then run, pop, and then run. I was oh, God, come on, bro, engage. You talk all this crap about you're like going to destroy somebody, and all you do is pick and pop. But that's part of his game plan. Wins, you know what I mean? He wins, so I mean, you can't give it.
No, that's what it is. It's literally, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to stand and trade, and I'm going to knock him out. And then they're like, all right. And then they get ready, and then it never happens.
It never happens. They're all tentative. Wait a second. And then you get the little ping, ping. Oh, ping, ping. Oh.
Exactly.
But yeah, and the other thing we have to consider, and I think I brought it up the last card we went over, is the travel. Pereira's from Brazil, so he's going to have to fly out from Brazil the week before, right? So 8 days out. So, I mean, that's a long trip. So these guys that have to have a long flight could affect their weight cut, and that could hamper them when it comes to the fight as well.
That's a long way to go to lose.
Yes.
Sorry, man, but I this guy has so much stacked against him. I'll be impressed if it goes to decision. Really, really, especially when this other guy's just hungry, and actually, like I said, fight, like you said, battling active addiction, that's a war in and of itself. So, dude's tough. So, moving right along to the main card, we've got the UFC's poster boy, Super Sage Northcutt versus Thibault Gouti. I don't know how to say that exactly.
Thibault Gouti.
He's from France. Oh, okay. Let's see. So Gouti is he's 1-3. He's coming off of his first win in the UFC. So he had a pretty bad intro to the UFC before he kind of found his footing. But he found it against Andrew Holbrook, which isn't exactly somebody to write home about, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, to say that Andrew Holbrook is chinny is that's an understatement.
But then then you've got Sage Northcutt, who, I mean, God bless him. I think that guy seems like one of the nicest guys ever. But you could tell, like,
oh my goodness,
he needs to let go of that mean. He has a small mean streak, and that's what needs to come out for him to me. But me take him seriously because he's such a nice guy, and he goes and he fights. He's very, very peppy, and he's all in all the commercials. I mean, mind you, I can tell. I mean, obviously, the UFC is smart for trying to push him into the limelight because they've got a fake.
Well, you got to think the dude's like, I mean, his parents raised him properly. I mean, the dude has like manners.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any of that. Like, it's amazing. I'm like sitting there going like, he's like, yeah, thank you, sir. And I'm like, oh, what the heck is he saying? He said, sir, inside the cage? Like, what the F?
I was going to say, did you see the really funny video that came out today, actually? If you go look on Instagram or you go look on Facebook or wherever it is, you can see a video of what they spliced together all his fight video, like, his trash talk. and then they bleep out certain words, so it makes
Yeah.
it sound like he's cursing. It's hilarious, but
Yeah.
it's only because the guy is such a likable guy, like a funny
Yeah.
character. It cracked me up when I saw it today because I'm like, that's priceless. So I
Yeah.
mean, look, he's obviously he has to obviously be the favorite on this one.
Yeah, plus he's built like a freaking action figure.
Yeah.
Like,
but
doesn't he look like a clone of Ivan Drago?
yes, and he was he actually tried to audition for the part in the next Creed movie.
What?
Yeah, he was
I
supposed
did
to be
not know
Ivan
that.
Drago's son.
See, fun facts.
Yeah.
In the MMA DFS world, you did not know this.
Yeah. So fun fact, he didn't get the part, but man, if he doesn't look like a young Ivan Drago, my God. So that's pretty funny to me. And but I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I think that I feel personally that they're feeding him people. They're feeding him guys that that he should be able to beat. I mean, but he's even lost to like a tin can like Brian Barbarossa. You know what I mean? He's lost to.
This is where the disclaimer comes into play again, because he was going to school full time, right?
No way.
Yeah, he was going to school full time to do what? To be a freaking engineer. But an engineer of what? Like a rocket scientist. The dude is like ridiculously smart. And he finally gave up going to school to train full time.
So then you know what? This should be interesting because when you're built like the way that kid is, and now he's training with Team Alpha Male, and he already had some decent skills, I mean, I'd like to see him fight Mickey Gall again and see what happens, because the funny part was that fight is notable just because you got to see what the kid's capable of when there's somebody that's not a tin can in front of him. You know what I mean? Mickey Gall is actually the truth. Mickey Gall's pretty darn good, at least from what I've seen so far. But they want to protect him. I get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to see what this guy can do. And it's funny because I liked that Mickey Gall was actually talking trash to him in the ring and trying to pull that little bit of evil out of him. Because when you saw this kid actually get aggressive, though, you saw him land some nice strikes, do some powerful wrestling. But then it's like, if you don't do that with him, he just seems very safe, very tentative, but but then when he was in it, he made just a couple of mistakes, but this guy Mickey Gall is fantastic comparatively, just because they're both guys that coming up in the world, you might see them fight again when they're already killers and have worked their way through a division, so it could be fun. But I think Gall is up one weight class. I mean, he Northcutt was up at 170 for a little bit, I think. But what are these guys?
Mickey Gall, he came in and he said in his pressers, he was like, I'm going to shock the world. I'm going to show everybody that Sage Northcutt is not the next face of the UFC. I'm the next face of the UFC. And then after he beat Mickey Gall, Sage Northcutt, he immediately calls out CM Punk. Like, really? Like, come on, man. CM Punk is not a high-level MMA fighter.
No, man, that was hey, listen, smart play to him. That was the money fight, because they probably bumped up his salary to fight Punk. He wanted that. He wanted the notoriety. He wanted eyes on him. I think it was a smart play. I mean, because not to mention, I mean, wasn't it at a pay-per-view too? So if these guys have a good contract, I mean, the pay-per-view points alone and stuff, who knows? He probably made a killing.
I don't know. I don't think that. I think the public's misconception about how much these fighters make, when they find out how much they actually make, it's eye-popping, because then the average fan would press the UFC to pay the fighters more, because the reason they don't necessarily disclose the actual fight payouts until later on is because they don't want the general public to sort of be pissed off that a guy has to take a fight for $5,000.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
they've trained 5 months for a fight, and that means you're getting paid $1,000 a month, but you're training 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah,
so you're getting paid like what, a couple dollars an hour, and you're working in the gym, cleaning the gym, help training. It's sort of hard until these guys make big. Until they get a few good solid fights underneath their belt, and then they could renegotiate their contract. I mean, that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what sucks, because these guys, like you said, they're fighting for the love of it at first, because that's all they can get, because they can't pay their bills on that. But no, this should be interesting.
But
my
yeah,
opinion. I mean, what is
I totally got sidetracked.
no, it's all good. But long
But yeah,
story short, what are the prices on these guys? I mean, obviously,
yeah. Sorry.
Sage Northcutt is probably a solid bet at this fight. I mean, I don't know too much about Gotti. He just
Yeah.
got his first win against, like you said, a chinny opponent. Realistically speaking, I think that Sage takes it and probably, maybe second round TKO or something. Maybe a submission, something simple.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it's in Vegas feels the same way you do. Northcutt's salary is 9,200. He's a minus 300 favorite. Gaudi's salary is 7,000, and he's a plus 240 underdog. Now, now with the little bit of banter that we had going back and forth, I'm not saying Gauti is a complete schlep, but he does have an opportunity. He does have a path to victory against Northcutt if he makes this a dirty fight and basically a brawl. That's his opportunity to win. Northcutt is going to have to keep it clean. He's going to have to fight at distance. He's going to have to use his kicks. He's a high level Taekwondo practitioner, so he's going to have to use his body kicks, his teep kicks. He's going to have to use his combinations very well in order to keep Gowdy at distance, and that's how he's going to be able to push this victory out. If he can tire Gowdy out, take him down, and then probably work for a submission, that's another opportunity for him to take another path to victory for Northcutt. But his salary is fairly high, so you got to remember when you have guys in the 9,000, you're going to have to pick and choose on who you're going to roster. And then if that allows you to have a more balanced approach, or at least have a good opportunity to have guys that are going to win. When you're doing your roster build, it's going to sort of hamper you a little bit. So you're going to have to pick and choose which of the top salaried guys that you feel most confident in their win in order to roster. So that stuff is all the challenge and the beauty of MMA DFS. If you're sticking with one lineup, it's probably going to be a rough night. Multiple lineups is usually the best way to go. It's similar to NASCAR. Minimum of three. If you're going to do two, you're going to have your hedge lineup. You have your core of fighters, and then you have your 2 or 3 fighters that you're changing, that you're going against the other ones for.
Yep. Nope. Same. Seems that's about right. That's what I've been doing. I'm new to it, so I play about 3 lineups, and usually they're different. And I just like to see where I went wrong, where I went in. Not too shabby. A couple little mistakes when it came to who I put on what roster. I mean, mind you, we go into it a little bit more on the weekends about what kind of a build is probably best to make for some of these combinations, and we got a lot more coming down the pipe to help with that. Actually, I mean, I actually can't wait to debut the fight calculator we got working on. We've been working on for a little bit. I'm pretty happy with that, and that usually helps us with the decisions and kind of with roster building. You know what I mean? And we're gonna be putting more stuff up on the site pretty soon to showcase some of that stuff because so far, I mean, what was it last week where you were like 9 for 12 of the fights? I mean, that's
Right.
a pretty solid pretty solid stuff, especially once we've kind of narrowed down with the research and everything else that we got going on. Uh, so 9 out of 12 ain't bad. It's just putting them all in the roster and then figuring it out. But going forward, next fight is Steven Peterson versus Brandon Davis at 145 pounds, one of my favorite weight classes. So I feel like Killer B we've seen before.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Recently, I
Yeah.
think what was it? Who did he fight last? I'm sorry, but
Bosniak.
that's
He
why.
fought Bosniak on the Miocic Nagano card.
That's why I knew that we'd seen him recently. So he's bouncing back pretty quickly. Like you said, just lost to Bochniak. What was that? Was that decision or was that a
He lost by unanimous decision. He was outstruck. I think it was 105 to 60 something strikes. I mean, it was pretty obvious that Bochniak and he was taken down multiple times. So
yikes?
that was
Okay. Well,
he did spring back up though. He did get up from he did have his comeback up was pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty sure we were talking during that fight. That's why I'm like, man, it sounds familiar. But yeah, I think that was one fight where we were just like, yikes! Anytime now, he's gonna come. He's gonna make a comeback, and he
Yeah,
just
stop
never.
waving them in. Stop. I remember I go, stop waving them in and punch them. I
Yeah,
think I texted you that.
exactly.
I'm
So we got
so
Steven Peterson.
frustrated when you're sitting there just going, come here, come here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, do
So,
this instead of this.
sorry, but it's true. He was literally just, come on, hit me some more.
Yeah.
What? No, man. It's just let me stop because I'm gonna go start clowning the poor guy. But it's Peterson. However, this is his UFC debut. He's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. So I mean, right now, I mean, Brandon Davis does have more experience in the big show. They have roughly the same kind of output, same kind of accuracy. I mean, the takedown average. I mean, that's the thing. Steven Peterson's ground game looks like it's a little bit stronger than Brandon Davis. So, I mean, you might see this just be a wrestle fest, so to speak, just with Peterson just taking him down, ground and pounding him out. I mean, what does it look like DFS wise? I mean, what's the price on both these guys? Who's the underdog even?
According to Vegas, Peterson is the underdog. His salary is 7,500 on DraftKings. He's a plus 160 underdog. Davis is 8,700 salary. He's a minus 195 favorite. Peterson lost on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series by split decision against Benito Lopez, who had a pretty solid fight in his debut. I can't remember the dude he fought, but I mean, it was a 3-round brawl. And both those guys just literally stood and banged, and I mean, they both landed like flying knees on each other. Benito Lopez is no slouch. He's actually from here in Northern California, from Oroville. And with the money that he won, he actually bought his grandma a car. Like it was pretty neat. He was like, I bought my mom. And he posted it on Instagram and Twitter. It was pretty neat. In Peterson's last fight at LFA 28, he actually won by second round TKO stoppage due to punches against Dustin Winter. It was actually a pretty solid fight. He looked really aggressive, and I think that's going to play right into what Davis wants and what he doesn't want. He's going he's going to want to turn it into a brawl. He's going to want to turn it nasty, and I think Peterson's the guy that's going to bring it. And the cool part, remember I told you this is a Texas card?
Yes.
He's from Plano, Texas. So,
Oh wow.
not that it's going to factor into the decision, but he's going to have people in the crowd. Brandon Davis is from Mississippi, so he could have some people in the crowd as well. I forgot to mention that Sage Northcutt is from Austin, Texas, so he'll have extra fans from Austin there. This is a heavy Texas card. There's a lot of fighters from Texas, so. But from a DFS standpoint, I do like the opportunity for Peterson as a underdog. He does have a path to victory. It'll be interesting to see how Brandon Davis responds from that Bochniak fight, if he is a little more aggressive when it comes to coming forward, like he did against Austin Arnett in the Dana White Contender Series, because he literally put it on Austin Arnett and just took the fight to him. He's going to have to do that with Peterson, but Peterson's going to do the same thing, come right back at him.
Okay, so this one could be a pick 'em, but the favorite so far, and the favorite is actually Davis. You said so.
Correct. Yeah, he's a minus 195 favorite according to Vegas, and Peterson's a plus 160 underdog, and that shows in their salary as well. Peterson's 7,500 and Davis is 8,700.
Dang, this one I might have to kind of take a flyer on both of them. On different lineups. Is that? I think that's the correct terminology. Put one on a couple lineups.
Yeah, if you're gonna hedge your lineup, like if you had a Peterson lineup, then you're gonna do a Davis lineup. I wouldn't stack this fight at all.
No.
I mean, it's a possibility that they could stand and trade. I mean, both guys are fairly durable. Peterson does have submission, a path to victory with submission, so that could boost his value at 7,500, especially if he's able to slap something on early in the fight. I mean, first round submission is 90 points just by itself.
Yeah.
If there's any significant strikes or takedowns, you're adding so 90 points plus a takedown is 5, so you're looking at 95. If there's any ground and pound, let's say he lands 15 ground and pound strikes, you're looking at another 7. So you're looking at 102 points for a first round submission victory.
That's not too shabby at all when building a lineup. I like actually those stats. I like that a lot for DFS especially. All right. Well, going forward, that one, like I said, I'll have to do a little bit more research. I mean, this one, man, a lot of tough ones to call this
Yeah.
week. Just like last week. Last week was tough, and we were only off by a couple fights.
Yeah, and oh man, don't bring up last week, man. Some of that home cooking, bro, looked a little suspicious.
Yeah,
Suspicious,
no.
suspect, bro.
I don't disagree with you. There
I'm
was
telling you, I was like, wait a second. Remember, I told you, I go, who was it? Damian Brown. I texted you right before the fight. I go, Damian Brown has a 1-round leader, and he's already winning 19-8. And you're like, wait a second. You're like, what round is it? And I was like, it hasn't started yet. And you're like, what the F?
Exactly. No, it's completely true. On some of those fights, it's like, what were they watching? How was it a split decision? How was it even
Abe
unanimous?
did not lose that fight, bro. He won. He had more strikes. He even had 2 takedowns. How do you lose a decision? You know how? Because he's not from Australia. Dude
Yeah.
was Asian. Every Asian fighter got X'd, bro. Unless they finished. That was the only way.
Yeah.
It was suspect. And I remember I kept it. That was like the whole thing. I kept texting you. Oh, this Aussie guy. He's gonna get. He's already ahead. He's already had 20-2.
It's true, but the sad part is that we're joking, but we're not joking.
Yeah,
This
it
is
was
really
brutal.
this is the reality of it. This is literally what happens. Like at a hometown advantage is, I mean, it's sad, but that's also, hometown advantage is a real thing,
And
especially in MMA.
the U.S. not so much, but Australia, Brazil,
Oh,
some parts of Canada, and like anywhere outside of the U.S.
yeah.
Basically, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, who's the hometown guy? All right, I'm gonna favor him slightly.
Yeah, if you're from the hometown, all you have to do is survive to win.
Yeah.
You don't even have to fight. You could
Damian
probably
Brown was eating punches with his face, and I kept telling you, I go, he's up 20-2, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it took me a second because I was like, but what? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. And the thing is, I wanted you to be wrong up until I watched some of these fights. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, it's so blatantly obvious. It's not even funny. Like, I'm not a judge, but I know I could score a fight better than that.
Oh yeah, and they didn't want to share their cards. They didn't want to share. They didn't share any of their cards until after the fight was completed, and everybody left the arena. That's the only time the media was able to get a hold of the actual fight cards, and some of them were suspect. Like, how do you score 30-27 when the dude was outstruck? The guy who won was outstruck by 35 strikes. How's that possible? Like, how do you win 3 rounds to none?
How does
And
taking
you were
brain
outstruck.
damage?
Yeah,
How
it's
does
just
taking
like
brain damage get you a win?
it reminds me of the old Manny Pacquiao Timothy Bradley fight. Pacquiao hit him 237 times, and I think Bradley hit him 58. I'm like, really? And he lost?
Yeah.
I was like, man, there's a fix going on here somewhere.
Jesus.
But yeah, some of these judges, they just don't know. And what it is they're boxing judges, so
It's even worse.
maybe they just don't understand the aggressiveness, the ring control, takedowns, all that
They
stuff.
don't,
so.
because all they know is about strikes, and that's the thing that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Why is it that judges are not well versed in what jujitsu is? It's
Yeah.
that simple. Like, you should not be allowed to be a judge for MMA if you've never taken a jujitsu course in your life. Or it's one of those things that you need to understand what an actual significant strike is. You need to understand that sometimes, again, the simplest things, guys get robbed not because they're not good fighters, but because of the judges are so ridiculous. I mean, dude, I could go on a hot take on this right now, but I'm gonna spare everybody simply because of the fact that it drives me nuts that you see a guy, which is rare. I'm not gonna say it's often, but you see a guy working off the bottom, purposely letting himself get into guard, and then him losing that round and working like a madman trying to get submissions, and they give them no credit because all they know is top control. It's insane. Look, it's one thing, let me stop because like I said, it gets me hot because if I don't understand how judges
We're gonna have
get
to save that for another show because that by itself is probably about 30 minutes.
yeah. Oh no, you already know how I feel, but just to tell everybody, guys, it's ridiculous. And these fights are a lot more exciting than the typical crowd, typical, I guess, fan. If you don't know about it, I would strongly suggest anybody who watches these fights really takes a second to understand. Look, it's not two guys just sitting there humping each other. Sorry, I don't know if that's appropriate, but it's two guys quite literally vying for position in a dominant position, and both sides of that coin are trying to work against and for the positions that they're in. They're trying, but if you don't know that, it loses some of its appeal, because then you just think it's two guys just trying to beat each other up, and one's trying to hold the other down.
And then the other factor you have to throw into that equation is the ref. Mark Goddard is notorious for standing people up when guys are in guard.
Yeah.
Like if a guy is in guard and he's working, and you could see him like putting his left foot on the hip to push that leg out so he can maybe possibly pull the arm in for an arm bar. Okay, you're not active enough. Get up. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, come on, man. That's an oh, come on, man moment.
Yeah, and that's even worse. Refs should know, what the heck is going on. That's ridiculous. But let's go right on to the next fight. This one's going to be fun to talk about. We've got good old Thiago Alves from down here in sunny Florida. He's an American top team standout. Sorry, the screen stuff is flickering a little bit there. He's Thiago Alves. I mean, he seems like he's on his way out. Back in the day, he was a welterweight contender for the title. I mean, he lost to George St. Pierre a while ago. He has shown some moments of greatness, of explosiveness, but lately, you don't see any of this out. To me, he's on his way out. He seems very tentative. He'll sit there and he'll ball up, and he'll just be there, here, just bouncing for 3 to 5 rounds. He won't pull the trigger. And for me personally, on a personal note, I mean, I like his attitude. I don't like his hesitation. You know what I mean? If his body matched his attitude, he'd be all right, because you'd see him going out there on his shield. But he just kind of seems to hang back, and it drives me nuts, because you've seen the guy have flashes of talent throughout his career. Not to mention, I mean, besides all the numerous issues that he's had. I mean, my God, this guy's had a roller coaster in the UFC. But and then we've got this guy Curtis Millender here, and he's on a 6-fight win streak. He's a former Bellator fighter, so this is his UFC debut, and it's sad. I was actually hoping to see maybe Thiago Alves stay in the upper echelon of the welterweight division, but he's fallen off in the last few years and hasn't really found his way up. So now they're either feeding him a UFC novice, or they're gonna go and feed him to the new guy to work their way up, because he's still enough of a name that anybody who beats him is automatically going to probably get a top 15 fight. I would think.
A little bit of notoriety. I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the thing is, Millender's coming in with a couple advantages. Like I said, Alves likes to ball up. He's kind of a wrestler, striker, not so much into the real ground game from what I can recall. But I mean, he will get outstruck. I mean, he'll just sit there and he'll take punishment for 3 rounds. I mean, this guy has a 6-inch reach advantage. I mean, I haven't seen enough about Millender, but I mean, my God, that alone is a big problem for Alves, and he doesn't do a great job of working his way in. So, I'm already not favoring Alves in this one. I mean, they've got about similar output, so it might end up being a slow fight, to be honest with you, on the feet. But I'd still probably give it to Millender, because he has a lot more takedowns. He's got, he's just, his accuracy so far is like it says there, 100%. His takedown defense, 3/4 of the time he'll stop the takedown, and he's just got that reach advantage. And we've got an aging Thiago Alves that he seems like he's on his way out, and he's rather hesitant.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
When it comes to just the fight game, I'd love to see him do more. I'd like to see him, fight his way back out of the slump, so to speak. It's been a while. He was supposed to show up another couple, I think a couple cards ago, And I don't know exactly what happened. I believe either the fight got scrapped or he couldn't make weight or something. But that's also been part of his problem. He's been notorious for missing weight on numerous occasions. So this one, I'm a little shaky on. I'd probably give it to Millender. I'm pretty sure the way it's looking, I'm going to assume that Millender is the favorite against Alves, which would hopefully get Alves's butt in gear and get us a good fight. Not really sure yet. I still haven't. We were waiting up until earlier today, actually, for the what do you call it? For the fight prices, for the fighter prices.
My bad.
Now that Wig's back, he can actually.
Somebody was knocking on the door and nobody was getting it, so I had to go.
Oh, no worries. Funny enough, I was just talking about how I believe, in my estimation, I would assume that Curtis Millender is actually the favorite in this one, just based on how Thiago Alves has been. I don't know if a head case is the right word, but he's just been kind of a no-show the last fight or two. I believe he's just had more issues either cutting weight or what exactly happened there. Who's the favorite? And what do you see this for DFS?
Yeah, Alves actually turned down a fight with Platinum Perry, Mike Platinum Perry. Something about like he couldn't make weight or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the issue was, but I know he turned down a fight with Mike Perry. Alves' salary 8,600 on DraftKings is minus 180 favorite.
Alves is the favorite.
Yeah, Millender 7,600 salary is a plus 150 underdog. This goes back to, I mean, he won his last Alves won his last fight against Cote, but
who didn't?
But I mean, yeah. But I mean, the hardest part about that fight is okay, he beat Cote, but what happened after that fight? He retired. So does that mean he had his foot out the door already? Was he already like ready to say, I'm cashing it in, I'm just going to get this last 50K, I'm out? Or was it like, I'm going to try to go out there and just, win? But he didn't. I mean, he grinded out, it went to decision. And that sort of shows you that what kind of fighter Alves is now. He's not the same pit bull that we're used to seeing. Millender, on the other hand, this kid is, he's riding a pretty good streak right now. 6-fight win streak. His last 2 were by head kick KO. One in the first round and the other one by second round. And you're right, he has fought in Bellator against Johnny Cisneros or something like that, where he won by second round stoppage due to, I think it was punches. It was strikes of some sort. But that wasn't too long ago. It was, in January last year, I believe. So he's pretty active, and he looks like he's fairly aggressive when it comes into the ring from some of the fight video I watched. Majority of his wins are by decision, so he is fairly durable. Seems like he has good cardio. Alves, he has had cardio issues before. It seems like he's slowing down. Like you said, he turtles up. I mean, it looks like he wants to throw. He gets there and he gets in fighting position, but he doesn't let the hands go.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like, I don't understand why he's not throwing punches.
And mind you, don't get me wrong, we're not in the ring. We don't know that, but it's one of those things that we see guys that we watch enough of this to know when there's an opportunity to at least throw. And a lot of the time, it's a lot of perception, I feel, in the ring too. Mm-hmm. And if you're sitting there just turtling up, it's great that you have some head movement, but if you're not throwing anything out there, the result's going to end up being the same. And I just feel like this guy, he has such potential in him to really go out there. And I mean, look, who nobody wants to get knocked out, obviously, but there's a limit to hesitation when it comes to that. And he's one of those guys that's a heavy hitter too, when he's gotten his hands on people. But it's like, I guess, he doesn't want to get knocked out. He has taken some damage before. Look, his fight record alone shows you he's been through the ringer. I mean, this is going to be almost his 40th fight. So the guy's got plenty of experience, and I just kind of wish that that would all come together, and he'd really start making he can be an exciting fighter. So as much trash as I'm talking, I'm still just like, I'm hoping that maybe there's one more run in him. Maybe he won't take a title, but he'll put on some damn good fights.
Yeah, I mean, he has like he has some insane leg kicks. Like when he chops his opponent's
Yeah.
legs out, like it sounds like a baseball bat hitting the other dude's leg, and it shows. Like you see, they start limping after the fifth or sixth
Yeah.
one. It's not. You could tell those guys are not having fun. And
That's
with Melinder making his UFC debut, he's either going to do one or two things. He's either going to come in like a lightning bolt and just try to shock the world, or he's going to crumble under the pressure. But I think he's going to have a good opportunity against Alves, who seems tentative. Like you said, he doesn't seem like the same fighter, unless there's something where it clicks and he's just comes in with a good fight plan and he shows that this is the old Pitbull that we're used to seeing, and he just dominates Melinder, which he should. From a DFS standpoint, it's sort of risky because it's one of those coin tosses, like which Pitbull's going to come in.
exactly.
And same thing with then you have the unknown of Melinder. Like he's on fire right now, so he's definitely worth. To me, it's worth the risk, right? Risk versus reward.
Yeah.
If he comes in and Alves is, even if it goes to decision, which Melinder's he has 9 decision victories in his career. So if he goes, it's like 60% of his wins are by decision. So if he goes in and takes a decision, okay, his salary's only $7,600, so he technically only has to score 85 to 95 points.
Yeah, he'll pay himself off, even in a loss, in a unanimous decision.
Well, in a loss, he might only score 50. So it'd be really close. It wouldn't be as bad as like a TKO early loss, but it would be definitely hard if he didn't win a decision. But I think for a GBP, I think he's definitely worthy for a flyer. Yeah. And Alves at that salary, he'd have to come in like a bull in a china shop and just wreck things. So
yeah,
against a guy like Melinder, he could put himself in a position where he's in danger because with those head kick KOs, it's one of those things where you're not going to play to somebody's strong suit, so he's gonna probably be, Alves will probably be leery of that head kick, and it's probably going to make him tentative, especially trying to shoot in for maybe a takedown, or if Melinder kicks to the body, he's going to be very cognizant of keeping that hand up, covering the head. So it's going to be I'm actually interested to see how this fight plays out. Hopefully Alves comes in with an aggressive fight plan, and Melinder brings the fight to him.
Yep. All right. So moving into the last 3 fights of this roundup, we were running a little bit long because we got tons to say about all these different subjects. Like I said, I really can't wait. I keep mentioning it, but it's gonna come sooner than later, guys. We're actually gonna start putting out a lot more content. We got some hot take videos coming. We've got for the subscribers, we've got, like I said, the fight calculator, the salary calculator. We've got a ton more stuff, a lot of cool strategy tips and tricks that we're gonna be showing you. Obviously, our man WigSpitter here, he's got this down to a science. So like I said, he went 9 out of 12 last week alone, and he's usually pretty on point with all these things, and he's been pretty consistent with making money. So we want to share that a lot with a lot of you guys. Moving right along though, final 3. These are actually the more exciting bouts I'm actually really curious about. I know that you were really excited about the Vic fight. Francisco Trinaldo Massaranduba from Brazil versus James Vick. Now this one is actually, looks like it could be some fireworks, at least in this fight. Trinaldo has a row of people that they're notable enough that it make you catch notice of him. I can't think of a better adjective, because he's beaten guys that actually, some of the guys that were even on last week's card. He's beaten Ross Pearson. He's beaten Yancy Medeiros, who's actually the main eventer of this card. Paul Felder, the guy who's on the UFC announcce team, at least at this point, till his next fight. He's only lost recently to Kevin, the Motown phenom Lee. And Kevin Lee is not too shabby a fighter. You know what I mean? He's pretty solid. He was working his way up to a title shot. He got derailed. I forget who was the one that derailed him. Was that Tony Ferguson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Ferguson beat him, but Tony Ferguson's on a whole other level. So, but still, Kevin Lee's not anybody to slide, and he beat Jim Miller at the end of last year. And Jim Miller, I mean, he is a very solid, very well-rounded fighter. So, I mean, I would say he's probably like a high-level gatekeeper for the 155-pound division. Whereas you've got James Vick, though, who's 12-1, but I mean, hasn't the only person he's really lost to, the only person that he lost to recently was Beneil Dariush. You know, he's fought some middle of the road guys, so it's kind of a padded record comparatively to Trinaldo. I mean, honestly, by that alone, I'd start kind of almost giving the edge to Trinaldo. But Vic has a 6-inch reach advantage, a 3-inch leg reach advantage. I mean, he lands about four strikes a minute, but Trinaldo's not too far behind. So this has a high potential for probably fight of the night. These guys are going to go probably stand and bang. And, or anybody who takes it to the ground, I mean, they've got skills everywhere they go. So for this one in particular, it is an exciting fight. Some people that Vic's beaten, Marco Polo Reyes, Abel Trujillo, Jake Matthews, which is also a winner on last week's card, but he's a much improved Jake Matthews. I don't know if you tell me, but I don't think if Jake Matthews fought the new Jake Matthews fought this James Vick, I mean, that I think would be a more exciting fight, and I think it wouldn't go Vic's way, the way at least he was looking last weekend. Whereas Trinaldo's got all the tools, and he's fought some pretty high level competition. So, I mean, what's your take? Who's the standout? Who's the underdog? Who? I mean, their prices must be enormous.
Yeah, one of the things, a technical miscalculation on my part last week was, and I went back and rewatched. I usually go back and rewatch everything from the beginning to the end of the card, and when I rewatched the weigh-ins, an oversight on my part was how big Jake Matthews was when he did the stare off after his weigh-in when he made weight with Li Jingliang. When he was a huge.
He's a big
difference. Dude. Yeah, and it was a miscalculation on my part, and that was totally my fault, and that's why I picked Jingliang. But Li Jingliang proved how durable he is. I mean, he took everything from Jake Matthews, all the strikes, and he got rocked a couple of times, and he fought through it.
That was incredible. That was fun to watch. I've never seen anybody get knocked out and then immediately bounce back. Me and my wife were watching that, and we couldn't believe that. We thought, oh, there it is. And then he just, he'd pop right back up, like as if he just woke up and he missed the bus to school or something. It was insane. This is one of those things, he's the oh crap, I'm late to work. He did that like 3 different times during the fight. Oh my God. Oh, I'm fighting. Okay, we got to go back into it. Got to take more punches. I mean, I really wanted Li Jingliang to win. Matthews, though, is much improved. And we talked about it a little bit, I think, on Saturday. We talked about how he, it depends what Jake Matthews decided to show up. And it was the best version of him yet. And he's just an enormous guy. Had he been able to make weight at 155,
oh yeah,
he would just run over most of these guys just on the fact that his youth and his size. Because dude, he'd have to cut to 155, which is a hell of a cut.
Yep.
But I mean, if the minute he packed that weight back on as well with that kind of power, he's dropping welterweights without an issue, and he's bigger than some welterweights.
Right.
So I know we've segued horrifically, but it's just to kind of give you the scale, just to give you the scale. This welterweight division is really, really coming up. Honestly, I don't see Tyron Woodley holding on to his belt too much longer, just because there's a lot of talent coming up.
Tyquil's not going to have the belt very much longer.
Yeah,
he can't run very much longer. But get him back into it.
Yes,
my bad. That was totally my fault.
No. It's because I really wanted to talk about this anyway. So we got to start. I'm thinking about also getting us to do after the fight or during the fight breakdowns and things like that. But we'll talk more about that later. Francisco Trinaldo, James Vick. What do you got?
So Vick is. Take this into context too. James Vick is 6'3", and Trinaldo's 5'8". Yeah. So Vick is going to be a home state boy, so he's going to have a lot of people probably in the crowd for him. So one of those things. Trinaldo's going to be coming from Brazil, so it's going to he's going to have a hard time with the travel plans. But Trinaldo's no slouch, man. He's one of those guys that's been in there with some of the best, and he's fought and competed at a top level for a long time. He is 39 years old, so that scares me a little bit. Vic's
What?
salary is 9,000. He's a minus 220 favorite. Trinaldo's salary is 7,200, and he's a plus 180 underdog. This is an intriguing fight for me because I'm such a huge James Vick fan, and I appreciate and I respect Trinaldo's skill set, and he has a mountain to climb against James Vick because James Vick has solid takedown defense. He has solid strikes. He's gritty. He's durable. He did get KO'd by Beneil Dariush in the first round 2 years ago, or yeah, 2 years ago. Excuse me. So he has his loss already underneath his belt, and I'm not sure if he was just overlooking Beneil and just came into it with a lackadaisical fight plan. I have no idea. He didn't look like himself inside the cage that fight. So it could have been one of those things where he had a rough weight cut. Have no idea. But he did just look not himself. But he's turned it around. I mean, he beat Abel Trujillo, Marco Polo Reyes, Joe Duffy. I mean, he had a Bravo choke that he beat Trujillo with. He had the stoppage in the first round against Marco Polo Reyes, who just won 2 cards ago. Joe Duffy's a pretty solid fighter. He beat him in the second round by TKO. So I think this is going to be a stand-up banging battle. Vic is definitely rosterable at 9,000. And Trinaldo, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to sort of go risk versus reward. And I mean, it's extremely risky at 7,200. Because of the way the fight could play out. There's a couple paths to victory for Vic. There's probably a couple paths to victory for Trinaldo. But it's one of those things where we're going to have to sort of make our decision on Saturday when we're doing our roster builds.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this one, look out for this one, guys. I would not be surprised if it's fight of the night because I'd like to see how or if at all, if Trinaldo can get past that insane reach advantage. That's gonna be I think that's gonna be the deciding factor. If he gets in on him, I mean, he's gonna have to use that jujitsu and really just turn him into a pretzel. But I'm actually really looking forward to this one. They both got interesting skill sets. I'm looking to see how this one plays out. But moving right along into the heavyweight division, we've got Derek Lewis versus Marcin Tybura from Poland. We got Derek Lewis is the funny guy. You know, he's really kind of a character, which I like watching his character. The guy's obviously got some power. He's an interesting guy. I mean, we were talking a little bit about him, but he has been prone to back issues. And lately, I mean, we've seen that I guess that last fight, I mean, even before I started being on the show, I think I pegged Lewis to beat Hunt just because the formula to beating Mark Hunt is plain as day. Yep. Derek Lewis is no slouch when it comes to that, and sure enough, he wasn't able to deliver on Mark Hunt at all, not because Mark Hunt's a slouch, just because Mark Hunt, sadly, as awesome as he is still very one-dimensional.
Yep.
Lewis, he lost to Mark Hunt, but he's beaten the tin cans of the heavyweight division. The people who are no longer here or people who have taken way too many hits to the head or moved to Bellator or anything else, he's beaten them all. That's why, I mean, he's got his deservedly ranked number 7, in the UFC. Travis Brown, Gabriel Gonzaga, Roy Nelson, nobody super big. I mean, putting Derek Lewis right now, I guess, depending, again, which Derek Lewis shows up is a big deal. You know what I mean? Because if he comes in 100% healthy, I mean, this is the same guy who said he's not doing it anymore because I remember he gave some speech about how I ain't doing this no more. I'm not coming home like this, and he seemed kind of like just determined. And then 2 fight cards later, there he is back again. Oh, changed my mind. But, so, obviously he's an entertaining character to watch. I mean, he could be the new Roy Nelson, I guess. But
the belly rub.
Yeah, exactly. New Roy Nelson. The guy's obviously got a decent skill set. Don't let his shape fool you. I mean, I've seen this guy fight enough times to see. I mean, look, his knockout ratio is 89%. I mean, Jesus. This guy hits you, you may go down. they've got roughly. I mean, there's really no advantages other than skill set. I mean, if you look at the fight, the fight stats right in front of you there, only difference is that Marcin Tybura's half his takedowns he lands, a little bit over half his takedowns he lands, and he can defend them as well. Tybura, the last fight that he had was against Fabricio Verdum. Again, one of the top 5 in the heavyweight division. Period. And Fabricio Verdum, besides his problems, notwithstanding outside the UFC, the man is a monster. You know what I mean? That guy is tough. I mean, his last fight he beat Andrei Arlovsky. He's 3-2 in the UFC. So, I mean, he could end up being. I mean, this could be an interesting fight. I mean, if they keep it standing, I'd like to see who comes out on top. I'd probably give the edge in power to Derek Lewis. What's your take?
Okay, here comes the full disclosure again. Marcin Tybura is a Jackson Wink fighter.
Thank you for that. This is already prime information just because some of these things I don't know all the fight camps and it's like, are you kidding me?
Derek Lewis is from Texas. Oh man, I'm just telling you. No, man, it scares me because I would love for Derek Lewis to come in and just run through Tybura. But I don't see, I mean, I just see this being like a plotting, both these guys just sort of 1-2ing each other for 3 rounds and just sort of going to decision. And then, somebody get lucky,
Yeah, I mean, then you're gonna hear Derek Lewis just talk a bunch of smack about something, make some comment about Ronda Rousey.
Where's Ronda
I don't
Rousey
know.
at? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the guy's entertaining, but I'd like to see him be entertaining in the ring and actually have some decisive victories.
Yeah.
Maybe work his way up to a rematch with Mark Hunt and see if he's improved. But I mean, I don't know. This guy, I'm not gonna say he's a head case. I'm just gonna say that he's really inconsistent with, I guess, his level of potential, his level of skill that we've seen. Is that accurate? I guess.
I'll tell you what. The funniest thing that he ever did in the ring was against Travis Brown when Travis Brown kicked him in the stomach. Right, it was almost like a liver kick, and I remember, I can't remember if it was Joe Rogan or whoever it was, and he goes, "Oh, he's hurt, right?" And I was like, "No, he doesn't look hurt." I mean, it looked like it hurt him. The strike hurt him, and then afterwards, like he knocked Travis Brown out, and then they asked him after the fight, they're like, "Did you get hurt with that?"
I remember
kick?
this.
And he goes, "Nah, man." And he goes, "I have to go doo real bad."
Yeah, I remember that. That's why I remember that fight.
Like, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah. He's all, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like, oh man, this kid.
The guy's a character, like I said, but I'd like to see him do something. I'd like to see him get a top fight. I'd like to see him versus Fabricio Verdum or something like that.
Yeah.
That might be an interesting fight. I mean, so tell me, I guess, what the stats. I mean, obviously, is he up in the upper, like, is he, again, another 9,000 fighter? $9,000?
The other thing that concerns me about Lewis is his back. I mean, that's, you brought it up, and that scares me because, I mean, he went 4 rounds with Mark Hunt, and he basically TKO'd himself with punch. I mean, Mark Hunt was tattooing him. I mean, he was on one knee. He was barely defending himself, and he got TKO'd to punches. But I mean, if it was seriously his back that was failing, and if he has a back issue and he comes in, I mean, he's a big guy. I mean, these dudes are huge. These are Goliath of men. And if Tybura, lands an awkward strike or maybe presses him against the cage awkwardly and his back, tightens up on him in the middle of the fight, then then he's going to have a long night.
Yeah.
Lewis's salary is $7,900. He's a plus 125 underdog. Tybura's salary is $8,300, and he's a minus 145 favorite.
Whoa, Tybura is the favorite?
According to Vegas as of now. We'll see how the sharp money comes in on it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them overlook the fact that he's a Jackson Wink fighter.
That really does actually that really does is something that people should take into account because the fight camp is important, Where
I'm telling you, if mentally you're already defeated, or you're going, okay, you guys got to go in there and you got to get this win for us. That's added pressure, right? Even psychologically, it's going to weigh on you a little bit, right? But yeah, I mean, rostering wise, I mean, they're fairly even when it comes to salary. I mean, if you just wanted to go off of favorites, according to Vegas, I mean, if money moves in and they're saying Tybura is pushing for the win, then if you lean towards Tybura, then go Tybura. If you feel that the Black Beast is going to come in and dominate, you can do that. But Tybura is a pretty durable guy. I could see this possibly going to decision, and if it's a split, it depends on who was more active and maybe who was able to get a little more ground game in. I think they both probably will negate each other when it comes to the takedowns. If Lewis comes in and he doesn't have the cardio, he could get taken down or grinded in the cage and then worked to the floor. But it's one of those things we're going to have to look more into.
Yeah, we'll have to break it down. So finally, for the main event of the evening, it's Donald Cerrone, Cowboy Cerrone versus Yancy Medeiros. This is an interesting one for me. Again, both of them at 170. Medeiros, I think, has been in at 170 a little longer than Cerrone, if I'm not mistaken. Medeiros is on a 3-fight win streak. The last fight he TKO'd the other Cowboy, Alex Cowboy Oliveras, and that's a tough dude. So if he TKO'd that guy, he's got something there. 50% of his fights ends in a TKO or KO. His submissions, about 25%, not too bad. Again, this is a very right down the middle fight. Output's almost identical. Accuracy is a little lower on Medeiros' side, just because Cerrone is a kickboxer by nature, so he's a little bit probably a little bit more accurate. Both of these guys are looking to stand and bang. The last fight that Medeiros lost was against Francisco Trinaldo, funny enough. Is also on this card. And then we've got Cerrone, who's riding a 3-fight losing streak. But Cerrone is no stranger to... He'll fight anybody that's in front of him. Mad respect. I love this guy being in the ring. I wish he wasn't a head case. He has all the makings of... If it was just consistent, he probably would have been lightweight champ. He probably would have been welterweight champ, at least for a little bit. He has the absolute potential to destroy anybody they put in front of him on any given day if he comes in to fight. And he does. I like the fact that, hey, he loses, he doesn't make excuses. He comes forward, and you can tell right away in the first round what kind of a Cowboy fight it's going to be. If he comes in confident, he's going to go in there to tear the guy's head off. If he has any kind of hesitation, this one for me is the scary fight because of the fact that it depends, again, what Donald Cerrone is going to show up. We got a lot of people like this on this card in particular, that if everybody came to fight, man, we're going to see some fireworks. But since we don't know, that's the biggest concern right now. And then Cerrone, like I said, when he's on, man, he is on. There's very few people that can stand with him, period. Because once he gets that little bit of confidence, he just eats people up. There's enough meme videos and enough stuff on the internet for this man is a walking highlight reel when he wants to be. In title fights, something seems to just happen to him, and he loses that confidence. But the difference is clearly Medeiros has just started fighting top level talent. Cerrone's always fought top level talent. So if you don't come with a top level game, he's gonna use you as a confidence builder and eat you up and then throw you to what's left of you because he's good like that. That guy, he's got clean boxing. His jiu-jitsu is underrated. He can go on the floor, but very rarely do his fights go there, so you don't get to see him, show it off at all. But he's very well rounded. It's really more of a mental thing. Right now the videos I've seen, they're propping him up to be, hey, look, I'm back. I'm coming back. The mean old Cowboy's back. I'm coming to kill somebody.
That's what he said the last fight, and Darren Till just straight mopped the floor with him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like now they're just kind of feeding him to the people who are on their way up. And it's sad because he went and he left the lightweight division after he lost for the second time to RDA, Rafael dos Anjos, who's also another head case because he held that lightweight title for not very long, and he's up and down, There's always some excuse with RDA. I appreciate the fact that Cerrone's like, nope, I just didn't come to fight today, or hey, he whooped me, to put it cleanly. The 3-fight losing streak, you have to take into account though that he's fought George Masvidal, top 10 talent for sure in the welterweight division. Robbie Lawler, come on, former welterweight champ. Robbie Lawler's a beast, but that one actually, I forget how that one ended because Lawler's. What? Decision. Now that one looked a lot. I don't know. That one didn't look like Robbie Lawler at his best though either. But And then Darren Till, straight up wrecked him. Yeah.
Nobody wants to fight Darren Till. If you notice that, Darren Till has not been booked for a fight. Why is that? Nobody wants a fight with him.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Stylebender. Nobody wants to fight that kid. Nobody wants to fight these guys.
Dude, I don't know where it is, man. What's going on with these guys, but it drives me nuts. I wish I had that level of talent. I wish I could get there because I'd probably end up more like Cerrone because I believe that that's like so honorable. You just fight the guy that's in front of you. You don't need to have anything against the guy. You just in your way.
Yeah.
And that's like, to me, that's the real sport of it. It's like you got to have, courage to go and Darren Till's a scary dude, but hey, he's in my path. I just got to take him out. Not to mention, if I'm there longer, I'm going to want to I'm going to be like, no, you ain't getting through me. I deserve this. But whole other side topic. But
Cerrone is the last original tap out fighter left in the UFC.
I didn't know that.
Fun fact for the MMA DFS world. Donald Cerrone is the last true tap out signee from the old tap out before they sold out.
Yeah.
Now, another fun fact. Did you know what weight class Yancy Medeiros fought at when he first came into MMA?
You know what? Actually, I don't know. I mean, was he also at lightweight too?
No.
Not middleweight.
No.
I give up.
What? Heavyweight.
What?
Yancy Medeiros was a heavyweight. He fought at a heavyweight. And guess who he credits to helping him figure out his diet and a proper training routine?
Mike Dolce?
No. The Diaz brothers, of all people.
That's incredible.
Diaz. Isn't that insane? Like, he credits them for helping him understand, like, this is more than just coming in fighting. You have to train your body from head to toe. Because even though the Diaz brothers are stoners, they're triathletes. They compete in multiple different categories of like personal feats, decathlons. I mean, they push themselves in other categories other than just MMA. So yeah, man, it's fun fact, man. He was a heavyweight when he first started.
That is funny. I'm like looking. I'm trying to look him up right now just because now I want to see. I want to see more of those heavyweight fights. That's That's almost 100 pounds.
Yeah, if you think about it, from 170 to, I mean, well, minimum's 235, right? 230, yeah. 235 is minimum heavyweight. So, what is that? 65 pounds. Right?
That's a small child.
But yeah, another full disclosure: Donald Cerrone is a Jackson Wink fighter.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That one I did know, and that's what. Funny enough, I was trying to beat you to it. Because I was trying to go and say, oh, by the way, yeah, you got me. But yeah, so, I mean, for this one, who's the favorite? Who do you have pegged to win this one at least? Let's give him this one at least. I mean, who do you really think?
God. Torn. Cerrone's salary is $8,400 on DraftKings. He's a -160 favorite. Very doable. Medeiros' salary is $7,800, and he's a +140 underdog. Very doable. I don't know who's going to win this fight. I could see a definite clear path to victory for Cerrone if he's able to take the fight down and pressure Medeiros on the floor, work for submission. I mean, Cerrone has, he has 16 submission victories, which is an insane number. Medeiros, I could see if he was to keep the fight standing, he has the opportunity to KO Cerrone just because he's shown that he's chinny, and that he crumbles under the pressure, and especially in his Medeiros' last 3 fights, he has 2 stoppages by TKO. He has 1 submission victory. So it's a very interesting fight. I'm not sure at this point who I really feel is going to win, but I think Medeiros has a little bit more of a path to victory, and he's on the upward swing of his fight path, and Cerrone's on the downswing.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning a little more towards Yancy Medeiros. Roster wise, I think I would probably want to hedge my lineups, one with Medeiros and one with Cerrone, but I'm not really sure how the roster build's going to go out. If it's too close, plus you got to take into account this is a 5-round fight. So if it does go the distance, there could be a lot of scoring because both these guys are going to throw they're going to throw a lot of leather at each other, and it's going to be a lot of punches, a lot of significant strikes. So whoever wins and whoever loses is possibility. Medeiros, I mean, he'd have to throw 120 significant strikes and get the decision, maybe land a couple takedowns in order for him to pay off his salary. If Cerrone was to win, he'd have to throw over 100 significant strikes and get the decision. So that'd be the only way that they'd be able to pay off their salaries if that happens. If it happens that Medeiros gets the early stoppage, then he's definitely going to have an opportunity to definitely pay off his salary. I don't see Cerrone. Medeiros has been he's been chicken legged a couple times. He's been put on the weeble wobble, but he seems like he has pretty good recovery, and it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be a really good fight. I think it's going to possibly even contend for fight of the night.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like this is a card that if everybody comes to shows up to fight, we're going to see something special. I'm really hoping for that as opposed to the opposite, because frankly, I mean, then you're gonna see some quick finishes and some, which is good, I guess, so you can go on with the rest of your evening, but lackluster in the sense that you don't get to see some real skill showcased in some of these fights, which is what I always look forward to. So, I mean, that being said, I guess by Saturday, guys, join us this Saturday for the MMA live stream. We will have our picks down pat. You'll get the premium article, which will detail out what me and Wig's picks are, where we're going with it, why, and we're gonna have a little bit more set in stone, solid picks. This one's we're really chatting it up right now about it because we want to give you guys as much information as possible. But by the end, we're still doing our research, and we definitely want to make sure we watch some more fight video. We see what else is in store, and hopefully no fights get canceled on the way, so we know what's a decent roster to put together. That being said, anything else you want to cover for us, Wig, before we get out of here? Right now, I don't hear you. Hello?
Oh, I had myself muted.
There we go. I was like, he's just giving us gold and nobody hears it.
Don't forget to check out at Cashin's DFS's NASCAR content. It's still time. You can get the PGA package. There's NASCAR coming up this weekend. Cam G DFS, he's doing a day-by-day breakdown of the MLB. He's going with team by team. So that's something to look forward to. Baseball's right around the corner. If you guys are on Podbean, don't forget to leave us those 5-star reviews. If you're on iTunes, leave us those 5-star reviews. If you're on Facebook, like and share the video. YouTube, smash that subscribe button, hit the like as well. Leave comments below on what you think we can do better. And you could always hit me up on Twitter at JEFPO. You can hit LStevo up at L_Steve-O. We're always willing to talk about MMA, and we're always willing to talk about DFS. It's one of those things where I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time, 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm always down to chat it up. And I know me and Steve-O's had conversations in the wee hours of the morning just talking about MMA.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So we chat it up. We try to break it down even with each other. Trust me, we debate this all week. So when we get to you guys, we're already like...
It is fun.
We're already like, we've already done our exhausted debate about who we're picking and why and rostering and everything else. For those of you that are out there who are watching, thank you so much for watching us. Like you said, press that like button, leave us some comments, let us know what you think about the pod. Do you like our new overlay? Do you guys like seeing the fight breakdowns as we bring them up, as we talk about them? Is that something you want to see? Do you only want to see just the fighters? Do you want to see the fight card? Let us know. We're here to kind of cater to you guys a little bit. We like to have fun. We want to make sure you guys do too. And if we need to break it down a little bit more, or if you guys like looking at our beautiful faces the entire time instead, let us know. I'll take it as a compliment, and so will WigSpitter. Besides that, By the way, guys, please go. He's already mentioned it, but please go to our Facebook page. Give us a like. Yeah. Follow us there. These are usually gonna be actually also via Facebook Live. So you know you can catch us through social media as well. So we're really excited to start bringing you multiple avenues of MMA DFS videos, and so please let us know what you think. We will be starting to do a lot more for you guys that are already subscribed to us. Like I said, we'll be giving you a lot more value for your subscription, especially every week. We're working on some really cool tools. We're also going to be working on an MMA DFS, I guess, starter kit, primer guide, kind of letting people know what it is, especially so if you're new to the sport, hit us up, let us know. We'll be happy to help you guys out when it comes to just giving you the info. Maybe you guys just need a little primer to figure out how this whole thing works. We're working on a video just for that. So please, if anybody who's there, join us this Saturday. We're gonna be having fun, chatting it up with all our final picks for the week.
It's only $4.99. It's $4.99 for the event pass. It's $4.99 for the event pass. So, I froze.
Hello?
I froze.
Oh, you froze. Okay, well, all right. On that note, guys, then we will. Looks like our computers are even telling us to get out of here. So for WigSpitter, I am El Stevo, and like I said, have fun, be safe, enjoy DFS. Happy Valentine's Day to anybody who's watching, and we hope to see you this weekend. Talk to you later. Take care, guys.
Outro.
Hi, guys.
I gotta get